You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I am back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports. We're going to talk about Riley Gaines. She was the University of Kentucky swimmer that had to go out and compete against UPenn's Leah Thomas. Now, in case you don't know, I'm sure you do, Leah Thomas is a biological male posing as a female. Yeah, I said it. Going out and competing against women, actual females. And he was allowed in the locker room, and all kinds of repugnant stuff has come out involving that, involving him. And we've been very critical of everything involving biological men competing in sports because never mind the unfair competitive and physical advantages, in my opinion, there comes a safety issue with all of this where eventually a woman, an actual biological woman, is going to get hurt by the difference in strength and speed from a biological man. And they're going to get hurt badly, and it's going to be a big deal. We almost saw it in volleyball, and we still don't know how the young lady is doing that had a very, very bad concussion from a spike from a biological man onto a woman. Well, Riley Gaines has come out, and she's made some comments because one of the strangest things about this movement is the people that used to be such big advocates for women are not now. All right? Progressive, leftist, Democrats, they don't seem to give a shit about women's rights anymore, which is strange because they used to be the ones banging the drum. By the way, when it comes to the abortion issue, they seem to be all about women's rights. But wait a minute, you're not when it comes to sports? Is that what we're getting at? And Riley Gaines comes out. She's been very critical of this movement. She did an interview, and she has hammered two of the most outspoken sort of leftists. One really is one of the heavyweight champion of lunatic leftists, social justice movement spokeswomen in her case, maybe men, Megan Rapinoe and Billie Jean King. And it's like, why in the world are you guys supporting this trans movement when you were supposed to be about women's rights? Because, look, you'd have to be a total idiot to realize that there's not a competitive advantage. You've got to be lying to yourself if you're out there acting like there's not a competitive advantage. Cartilage, joints, something we don't talk about, height, wingspan. In the case of somebody like Leah Thomas, somebody that wasn't worth a shit as a male swimmer, switched over to females, started dominating. And I think that's all there is to it. They're looking to dominate women. Swimmer Riley Gaines, this is the Daily Signal. This is an interesting new site I found. Quote, where are the feminists in the fight to protect women's sports? Quote, I think it's extremely ironic that people advocating for this are the same party. The same people who were once advocating for the empowerment of women, Gaines said. Gaines is a 12-time All-American, 3-time SEC champion, gained national attention last year after she tied with male swimmer Leah Thomas in the 200 freestyle at the NCAA Division I Women's Championships. And I still believe, and this is just my opinion, my speculation, I still believe that Leah Thomas threw some races in that because the heat was coming down. And Leah Thomas won the national championship I can't even remember which, whether it was a 200 or 100 or whatever. I can't remember, nor do I really care. But the heat was coming down on him. And I can't help but believe, and this is, again, my opinion, that Leah Thomas threw some races to try to back the heat off because he was dominating everybody. Dominating. Since having to swim against Thomas, Gaines has continued to share her story and advocate for the protection of women's sports as a spokesperson for Independent Women's Forum. But Gaines said she is weary of being one of the few collegiate and professional female athletes proclaiming that men should not be allowed to compete with women and girls. Quote, where are the people who once believed that women, real women, in all of their uniqueness, would conquer the world and deserved respect and deserved equal opportunities? Gaines asked during an interview with the Daily Signal at the Conservative Political Action Conference just outside Washington, D.C. Saturday. When it comes to sports, Gaines says she knows where there are some of the, quote, feminists are. Where's Billie Jean King, who's a trailblazer? She's fighting for trans inclusion. Where's Megan Rapinoe, who fought relentlessly for equal pay and equal resources and equal access for women's sports? Oh, she's fighting for trans inclusion, Gaines said, adding that it's worth mentioning that neither one of these women have daughters. Interesting. That is a very good point. And both of these women are done with their careers, so they have nothing to lose. That's a great point. That is a great point, because so many people that are outspoken against having biological men competing, a lot of them have daughters. And they're like, no, this is horse shit. My daughter has worked hard, and I'm scared for her safety, and she should be allowed to compete in sports without it being against men. They would rather virtue signal than do what's right and what's moral and what's fair. King, now 79, was a prominent female tennis player, winning 39 major titles during her career. In the 60s and early 70s, King advocated for the passage of Title IX, a portion of the Education Amendments of 1972 that prevents discrimination on the basis of sex within public education. On a side note, Trump said if he's back in office, this shit is going away. There's not going to be biological men competing in sports against females. King even, quote, took to Capitol Hill to testify on behalf of Title IX and to speak to its need in order for girls and women to advance in sports. That's according to King's website. In 2021, King spoke out in support of Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference rule that allows men who identify as women to compete on women's sports teams. Quote, I'm proud to support all transgender athletes who simply want the access and opportunity to compete in the sport they love, King said in a statement. The global athletic community grows stronger when we welcome and champion all athletes, including the LGBTQI+ athletes. In January, King attended the Australian Open in Melbourne and was seen waving the flag. There it is, right there. Oh, that's a awesome rainbow flag you got there. Female soccer player Rapinoe, 37, plays on the United States women's national team and the OL Reign, a professional women's soccer team based in Seattle. That's a perfect place for her. Rapinoe, a two-time Women's World Cup winner, has long been a vocal advocate for equal pay, arguing that professional female soccer players should be paid the same as men. Rapinoe's advocacy paid off last year when the U.S. soccer team agreed in a settlement after a legal battle to pay female players at an equal rate to men. While Rapinoe was a leading voice for equal pay in women's soccer, she was also a vocal supporter of allowing males who identify as female to compete in women's sports. Quote, show me the evidence that trans women are taking everyone's scholarships. Not everyone, but you damn well know they are taking some. Are dominating every sport. You know damn well they generally are if they're in said specific sporting event. Are winning every title. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. That's a lie. Rapinoe told Time, when asked about her view of the transgender inclusion in sports during an interview last year, so we need to start from inclusion, period, the soccer player added. When Gaines tied with Thomas At the NCAA Division I's Women's Championships, she said she was told the trophy would be given to Thomas. And listen to this, folks. When Gaines questioned the decision, she remembers the NCAA official telling her, well, for photo purposes, Leah has to have it. You can pose with this one, but you go home empty-handed, and Thomas takes the trophy. So the NCAA right there was telling you, we care more about the limelight and the spotlight and looking brave, stunning, and courageous to all the wokes out there, all the progressives out there, all the Joe Bidens out there, than we do about sport. In that moment, quote, it hit me across the head. This is not progress. This is not progressive, Gaines said. We are not moving forward. We are moving 50 years back in time to before Title IX, when women didn't have equal opportunities in sports by allowing men to infiltrate into our sports, into our locker rooms. The Biden administration has proposed changing the definition of the word, quote, sex in Title IX to include gender identity and sexual orientation. Under the proposed change, men who identify as women will be permitted to use women's restrooms, locker rooms, and participate on women's sports teams. The proposed rule change remains under review. We are taking those opportunities away from women in the same lifetime as some of the trailblazers for women's sports. Gaines said, in their same lifetime, they saw the benefits of Title IX. Now they're seeing them being taken away. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, women have less rights in sports today than they did right after Title IX, all those years ago, went into effect. It's repugnant. Riley Gaines has been very outspoken, but I'm going to tell you something. I feel like these women, when they're competing, if they don't like this, then in unison, they all must get up and they all must walk off of the field, out of the arena, off the platform where they're jumping in the pool. You've got to get up and in unison boycott the whole thing. And I know that's rough because you got there to compete, but if there's a man competing against you anyway, you got no shot. You got no real chance. So everybody, it's got to be, look, it's got to be loud. It's got to be very public. And I mean, literally, if 40 women are there to compete, we just watch 40 women walk out the door. Preferably a televised event. And then that becomes a major story because you, as women together, are saying, we will not allow men in our sport. So, you know, while all the political officials, yeah, you need to do your jobs and get the men out of sports. You do. Governors, whoever, congressmen, House of Representatives, you get it. But the athletes themselves have got to start boycotting. Bring all the attention and say, look, we will not compete against men. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.